You work hard for your warehouse, but is your technology working as hard as you do? Don't you think your warehouse deserves that? Find that technology work ethic with the EPG One Unified Supply Chain Execution Suite that's built to arm warehouse leaders with tech that powers competitive edge. With modular solutions for WMS, WCS, TMS, workforce, doc, 3PL billing, control tower, and the number one voice picking solution named Lydia Voice, the EPG One suite gives you tech that works harder for your warehouse and the agility to help you scale with confidence and be built for what's next. Smarter, connected, and harder working logistics starts at epg.com. That's epg.com.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse Podcast here on site at the WERC 2025 conference in New Orleans. And I am going to be joined by, the man of WERC this year, the president of the board for WERC, right? And also director of operations planning and analysis for Tractor Supply Company, Will Sparks. So, Will, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I think this is our second go around.
Second? Yeah. We did it at WERC last year,
right?
Right? So, when we come to WERC, we get Will.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So WERC is the leading authority on warehouse education and research. Most people know that. The organization of WERC strategy and the curation of these conferences is largely done by volunteers, and those volunteers are led by an advisory council. And so there's a path to get on the advisory council. You kind of start by just showing up and getting involved, raising your hand. And then typically, once you've kind of been around the block a few times, you might get tapped to chair a conference. Like this year, our chair is Christy, and Mel is her co-chair.
Yeah.
And so you do that in 1, maybe 2 years, and then you may get asked to join the advisory council formally as a director at large. You do some time there, work on different tasks, partner with the MHI team, all these different roadmap initiatives that WERC and MHI have. You get involved. It's a volunteer thing, so it's not a full-time job, but you're working, in between your day job and nights, sometimes weekends, a little bit of travel, a lot of virtual, a lot of Zoom calls.
Yeah.
And after director at large, if you want to move into the advisory council leadership ranks, you go from director at large to secretary, from secretary to vice president, and then from vice president to president. And then you cycle off. You spend a year as the past president, and then you kind of cycle off. So that's the journey I've been on. And I think, so this year I'm president. Next year I'll be immediate past president. And then after that, my kind of tenure at the national level will kind of come to a close. And what I really like to do is get involved in more of a regional presence with WERC.
Yeah.
We had that pre-COVID.
And now you're kind of reigniting it, right?
We're rebuilding the regional councils, and I'd love to see one spin up in Middle Tennessee where I live. And I think that would be a fun way to keep my involvement active, but just not the national level.
Yeah, interesting. And so you've worked your way up. So how long have you been involved for?
My first WERC event was in 2005, so 20 years.
Oh, 20 years. Okay. All right. Cabinet office president. It's not a bad way to do it, right?
20 years to make it to president. I wasn't involved at a leadership level until probably 2017. But, as an attendee, as a helper, I've always just found it very rewarding to be involved in something greater than just your job.
Yeah.
Like, I think people can get a lot out of affiliating themselves with associations, with trade groups, for all the good reasons we come here, right? We all come from a similar mindset. We all have similar challenges. We're sharing openly. There's not a lot of competition here, not a lot of like hard selling going on. It's just good, intelligent conversation with like-minded people. And I've been drawn to that since I was fresh out of college.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, yeah, and I think it's a great thing too that you've been involved for so long, right? And now I've kind of been doing this. So tell us a little bit about what goes into, because we're at the conference here, right? And tell us a little bit about what goes into making this conference happen.
Yeah, sure. The conference is established. There's a framework that we continue to improve upon every year, which is why we take feedback very seriously. So when we ask people to rate the conference presentations and the main stage events and the food, we ask people to rate everything so that we can get better. But that's really just the shell of the conference. The content itself is crowdsourced from practitioners. So every year, we have a call for proposals. It's essentially, you could be a senior leader in your organization, or you could be an entry-level person in your organization. If you have a good idea and you want to share your story with your peers and come to the conference and present on it, you can submit a proposal. And then those proposals are reviewed by the Content Planning Committee, which is a group I years ago was on. That's kind of part of the path to the leadership ranks. And so that content committee is the group that looks at hundreds and hundreds of proposals, ideas that have been submitted, and they whittle it down to what you see in the agenda, into the program.
Yeah, interesting. And I love that too, because it is, such a great mix of different sessions. Like this year and in the previous years I've been here, and the mix is great. And you can kind of tell by like the titles and descriptions that like, oh, this is stuff that people like really want to hear about. Right. And like you said, it's kind of crowdsourced in that way. So tell us a little bit about like that process, because you're going to open the process soon for next year, right?
Next year, yeah. Yeah, so WERC.org is a great resource. It's the main website for the organization. Anything and everything you want to know about WERC is there. You can sign up for the newsletter, which is where we get we get out a lot of communication through the newsletter. So it'll obviously be posted, or if you're already on our newsletter, you should see an email soon that says call for proposals, right? Click the link, submit your idea. It's not a lot of administrative work. It really is just who you are, what company you represent, what your idea is, and give us like a general topic that you're speaking on, and then give us some bullet points around the specifics. When you submit, you have, I believe, 3 options. So you can submit your idea as what we call a thought leader session, which is kind of the lecture style. You can submit your idea as a peer-to-peer session, which is where we kind of sit in a circle in the chairs. There's no presentation. It's just sharing ideas and thoughts.
It's more like a discussion, right?
More like just like a little round table. Yeah. Those are my favorite, by the way, because, when everyone has a chance to speak, you get momentum in the conversation, different ideas, different challenges, a lot of yes ands going on in those circles. And the third one is a solution partner has an opportunity to submit an idea as someone who is selling a product or a service.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And I've attended, I think a mix of all 3 there.
And all 3 are important
this week. Yeah. And I think it gives you a lot of different perspectives. And I love the discussion style, because it's in that kind of open conversation, because it is kind of like, you come to these things and, there's a lot of conferences out there, obviously tons of trade shows, right? But there's not very many that are so focused in on, the warehouse itself, right? And you have the warehouse leaders here, and, if I'm a warehouse leader, like I want to learn what other warehouse leaders are doing too, right? So I'm curious, like for this week, what's been some of the big takeaways for you?
Sure. Well, as you might imagine, and I'm sure you've seen in the agenda, a lot of talk about AI and generative AI, and some are a little bit further ahead than others, but not by much. Maybe a couple months. But all of us are kind of navigating this new world and these new tools, and there's no better way to learn about those tools than to discuss it with peers who have tried and failed, and then re-implemented a better solution. We had a peer-to-peer session led by Christy Montgomery today, and it was how to use AI for general administrative tasks. And the room was packed, and everyone was like, "Oh, we use AI for this, and here's how we do it." We have closed AI, meaning our sensitive company information can't go out into the world.
Right.
We have open AI. We want our team members, our employees, to have that tool at their fingertips. So what kind of tasks do you use it for? Do you automate this? So we were just going around the room, and there's so many different use cases for AI that I think we're obviously kind of at the frontier of how this thing is integrated into our working lives. But there's no better forum, in my opinion, than this type of event where you can just share openly, ask questions, a lot of note taking.
Yeah.
And then after the session's over, you can go have a sidebar. Hey, I heard you mentioned that you're using AI for a certain process. Can you walk me through a little bit more how you did that? And then let's go have a coffee and talk about it.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's a face-to-face thing. You can't do that anywhere else. I mean, you could do it at a trade show, but here we encourage the intimacy, the way that we've set this conference up to be more of an intimate human-to-human type environment. It just encourages and fosters that.
Yeah.
Like a little nudge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen a bunch of those sidebars going on too, as well, and people learning from all these different things. And but I'm curious for you at Tractor Supply. I mean, you talked about the AI stuff. What are you guys doing?
Yeah. Oh gosh. So speaking on behalf of the enterprise Tractor Supply, we have a lot of irons in the fire with AI. We have applications that have various forms of machine learning and AI built into them. We have some homegrown applications that in the stores our team members can leverage to get real-time information. You're a customer, you come in and you have a specific problem. It's kind of a very niche problem that otherwise I would have to go Google on what you need to solve your problem and to give you a solution.
Yeah.
Instead of going to the computer, I can just ask my headset, hey, here's the situation. What products would you recommend? And our AI bot will then recommend options that I can give to you real time. So that is something we're doing at the enterprise level. Within my team specifically, we have an agreement with OpenAI, the company that does ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So we have our own sort of corporate license for ChatGPT, and we are obviously using it, for all kinds of administrative purposes, but we're also creating custom GPTs. So like that's where you upload your own data and you train it by prompting it and letting the bot or letting the tool know if it's meeting your expectations or not. And by giving that feedback to the tool, you kind of train it. And we have we're establishing use cases now. Some of them are reaching maturity pretty fast, and some of them will take some months to kind of flesh out, but it's super exciting. This thing just kind of hit us all. Like it seems like overnight. I know it's not. I know it's taken like 70 years to get here, but it just seems like all of a sudden you have this.
It's just exploded.
This amazing tool in your pocket. It's wild.
Yeah. It's very interesting and interesting to hear how you're leveraging at Tractor Supply as well. So I'm curious, like, how did you go about? Because like you said, it's kind of like all of a sudden it's just like overnight it's on the scene, right? And it's like everybody's like, how are you leveraging AI? How can we leverage AI? Like, how can we do this? And AI is kind of just everywhere, right? So I'm curious, how did you and like your team, like how did you approach it to learn about it, to understand like how can we effectively use this?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing I'd say, Tractor Supply is we're a publicly traded company, around 15 billion in revenue, around 50,000 employees. So we're not small. We're not Walmart, but we're not small either.
Yeah.
So at a company our size, it's common when you release a new tool like this is you have like a early adopter group. We call them our AI champions.
Okay.
So it's a small subset of users that are playing around with the tool, trying to brainstorm use cases, interfacing with IT when something isn't working the way we thought it would work, right? Honestly, it's kind of like debugging it.
Yeah. And
then slowly over months, you just expand the pilot group to include more and more people until finally you have an enterprise, everyone can access it. So that's kind of how we approached it. In terms of how my team has like, okay, we now have this tool sitting in front of us. What do we do with it? I mean, it's kind of funny, but like you ask AI, how should I use you?
Yeah.
And AI tells you, here's all the things you can do.
I've done that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did that because I was like, can you do this for me? Yeah.
And that's the thing is, one of the gentlemen in the peer-to-peer with Christy mentioned that these tools have been developed to, by default, respond to natural language.
Right.
So for those of us that have kind of grown up as technology has grown up, we maybe have a habit of being like transactional in our language because it's a computer, right? But these large language models are meant to be conversational. So you can say, hey, ChatGPT, or hey, Gemini, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about doing this. What are your thoughts? And then it'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. It's very conversational, and that's actually better. You'll get a better result if you make it conversational versus do this, do this, do this.
Interesting. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting to see that, and not only how people are trying to figure it out for like personal lives, right, but then also for like their business and how to apply it and all these different things. So I'm curious, like, what's one thing from the conference this week that you learned that you're going to take back to your team?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I think for me, I really enjoyed a peer-to-peer session with Arch Tomlinson.
Okay.
Arch led a kind of macro environmental discussion where we all kind of went around, and Arch's style was perfect. It was not participate if you want to. It was everyone gets a turn around the circle. What's your name? What's your company? And which of these macro environmental factors are impacting you the most? And number one by far was tariffs. And so hearing, because you had different representation in the room. You had retailers like me, you had OEMs and manufacturer of goods, and then you had service providers like 3PLs or consultants. And everyone had a slightly different take on it. Like the consultants were like, it's actually helping our business in some ways because people need help to work through the tariff situation, right?
It's good for them.
Yeah. And then I talked about, some of our supplier diversity and sourcing efforts and how we're kind of changing how we import. And then it was interesting to hear some of the OEM manufacturers talk about, they have to look at alternative sources, but they also have to look at commodity because they're using raw materials to build their products. So it's not just I'm looking at tariffs from a finished goods perspective. They're looking at tariffs on the raw materials as well.
Right.
So, I don't know that there's like a single applicable message I could take back to the team from that, but I did find it interesting that, these factors are impacting all of us in different ways, and it's great to share.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Are you asking the question, where's my stuff, too often? Whether it's in your own warehouses, from your suppliers, or in your customer network, if you're not sure where your stuff is, then Surge Air has the solution for you. With Surge Air's 99.9% accuracy, you're getting more than just supply chain visibility. You're getting the ability to orchestrate your supply chain and guide decisions in real time. Reduce the chaos in your supply chain and find operational truth with Surge Air. Find your visibility and learn more at surgeair.com. That's surgeair.com. Yeah. Interesting. So from like a planning perspective, right, which is your role, right? I mean, how are you like kind of navigating it? So are you like holding off? Are you like going heavy on inventory? Like what are you trying to navigate?
So our CEO, Hal Lawton, has said that while, all of these macro geopolitical tariff, while they do impact us, they impact everybody. For Tractor Supply, it's not an existential crisis. Okay. We are largely domestic. We sell a lot of what we call Q items. Q stands for consumable, usable, and edible. So think of things that you need to support your land and your animals. Feed, food, shavings, things to support medicine for your livestock. We sell prescription medicine for animals. So that's our core, and it's not inflation proof or recession proof, but it is pretty resistant to that stuff because people need that stuff to live their lifestyles.
Yeah.
So the percentage of goods that we do import, there's an impact, but our planning cycles are 6 to 9 months in advance. So
Okay.
we're already planning for 2026, 2027. What we have brought in from overseas, imported, we're holding in an import facilities. We have facilities by the ports.
Okay. Yeah.
And we will allocate those out as seasons require them. Grills, gun safes,
Gotcha.
riding
So
lawnmowers,
using it
UTVs.
like bonded facility kind of.
Well, yeah, and so that did come up in the discussion. There are, and I'm not the expert on this, but there are solutions, whether it's a bonded facility or foreign trade zone
Yeah.
facility. There are ways to mitigate your risk and mitigate your exposure. But for me, it's from a planning perspective, it's more about, okay, what do we know to be true? Well, we know that our seasonal sales curves follow the weather, and they have for 85 years. So we're going to have a peak in the spring, and we're going to have a peak in the fall.
Yeah.
We know that to be true. And then you kind of get down to the category level, and you think, okay, well, people are kind of being a little more conservative with discretionary items right now. So maybe we don't lean as heavy into like the sporting goods, fun stuff, like, UTVs or mini bikes or things like that, and lean heavier into maintenance and repair items, because, when the economy is kind of tight, people lean into DIY projects more.
Right.
So we have a solution for any type of economy. It's a really resilient business model. It just changes what you plan for, both from a product side and from a labor side, right? So when sales of a certain product go one way versus the other way, that could impact labor in the DCs. It can impact labor in the stores. And all of our models are adjusting based on those planning horizons. And we set a budget like everybody at the beginning of the year, or like before the year starts.
Yeah.
We're reforecasting weekly to like understand what's the latest information we have. How do we think things are trending?
Interesting to hear that. Yeah. I think it's really interesting to see how different businesses are kind of handling some of this stuff, right, and navigating it, because there is certainly some uncertainty. Yeah. We could say. I like to put it just simply.
But
you
have to embrace change, and you have to be. The lesson. It's kind of referring back to COVID is kind of lost its luster, because we've talked about it so much. It's like, what more could you say about it?
Yeah.
But I will say, during COVID, not just Tractor Supply, but like all anybody affiliated with the supply chain recognized that being nimble and being flexible is as important as optimizing cost, right? So depending on your business, like there are some businesses that value service and speed above all else, like same day delivery, next day delivery. It's going to be there. You can rely on that. Others are like lowest cost, right? And all that's fine and good, but you have to be able to pivot, because you don't know when the next COVID is. You don't know when the next recession is. Could be geopolitical, could be anything. I think they call them black swan events,
Yeah.
And just knowing that you've got backup plans and you've got mitigation strategies ready to go. Super important lesson learned during those COVID years.
Yeah, absolutely. And really great insights there, and really great to hear, I think, for many people, like how other people are handling it too, just like in that peer-to-peer discussion you're talking about, just learning from others and, what am I going to do? What did you do? And, I think that's a great forum to be able to do that. It's one of the beautiful things about the WERC conference, right? That it gives you that space to do that. So for next year, right, you guys are going to be in Jacksonville, right? So what would you say to somebody watching this? Like, how would you convince them that they should be there?
Absolutely. Well, a couple things. You said it earlier. WERC is laser focused on the four walls of the warehouse. So we are friends with, and we partner with some of the more end-to-end supply chain organizations, like ASCM, like CSCMP. We all play nice together because we have our lanes. Our lane is the four walls. If you are an operator, if you are a service provider, or if you are in the solution space, this is the place to be for warehousing discussion. And so just the focus on that, cutting through. There's so much going on in the supply chain, and you can come at it from so many different angles. It's refreshing to have, we know exactly what this conference is about, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. And then number two is, like we've talked about, the environment, the way we set this up, the way that all the programming is curated from the actual practitioners. So that the topics are relevant and that it is intimate. It's small. It's, typically the eating area and the break area and the conference rooms are all within a really short walking distance. That's by design to facilitate conversation. And then I'd say lastly is there's so much coming at us, always coming at us, but it seems like even more now, like what's new is the change curve has just steepened, right? So like when we talked about AI, but that space alone is evolving at a rapid pace. There are other things that are becoming more commonplace, like the cost of automation is going down, whereas wage rates are going up. So what is your ratio of human capital versus machinery, right? And so that's a conversation that's not going away anytime soon. So if you want to know what are people saying, what are professionals saying about current events and bleeding edge topics, if you want to do that in a small, intimate environment where you can have a face-to-face conversation with somebody, and you want that laser focus on the warehouse, this is your place to be.
Absolutely. I'll co-sign that. I'll say definitely. I think that's very true. And I've loved my time here in the last 3 years I've attended, and looking forward to next year as well. So really appreciate you sitting down and talking to us here, Mr. President. Yes. Yeah. So if people want to learn more about WERC, what's the best place to do that?
WERC.org is our main site, and it's a good landing page. There's a ton of links there to take you elsewhere. It links you to the MHI main page. So material handling industry has a lot of good resources. We have a ton of online benchmarking and educational resources on the WERC website. You can also check us out on LinkedIn. You can check us out on most social media. Those are good places to start.
All right. Fantastic. And we will definitely put that at thenewwarehouse.com as well as in these show notes here. So Will, thanks so much for joining me here.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Enjoyed this episode? Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, and for more content from the New Warehouse, find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Links to subscribe can be found in the show notes, and for everything The New Warehouse, head to thenewwarehouse.com.